Are we live now?
We are live on Zoom and we are connecting to YouTube. So 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay, now we are live on YouTube. So the meeting is started.
Okay. Let's take care of the housekeeping issues. Does anybody have, actually before that, Cindy, who can vote on the 325 minutes?
Well, on 325, Lou was absent and Tracy was absent. So I need two other people. We need Andrew and Dan. I mean,
Well,
Andrew or Antonio to vote with you and Dan. So
okay.
you might have to wait till the end of the meeting and see if one of them attends.
Okay. So we'll hold off on that then.
Mhm.
All right. Kathy Ann, you want to give your trustees report?
There's Andrew.
There we go.
Sorry, I'm getting my earpiece sorted out, but no need to hold for me on that. Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Yes,
you.
sir.
How's everybody doing?
Good, good. We're doing good. Hey, Andrew, we're just doing a quick housekeeping issue now that you're here. Can we, does anybody have any questions or comments on the 325 meeting minutes?
No, they look good to me.
Okay, Dan?
Looks good to me.
Okay. Make a motion that we approve the minutes from 325. All in favor? Aye. All right. Okay, so Cindy, we're now up to date.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry, Kathy Ann, would you like to give your trustees report?
That's okay. Sure, Mark. Thank you. Lots been going on. One of the exciting things is that we had a work session today with the Board of Trustees and some members of the Planning Department regarding uptown parking and what that might look like in the future with the development. We talked about short-term rentals and a possible code change coming forward to handle the short-term rentals, Airbnbs and that type of thing, as well as ancillary structures. There have been some requests for different updating of sheds on people's property, or you know, different pool houses, things like that, and how it would look moving forward to allow people to enjoy their property and enhance their property without getting somewhere where we don't want to be with having, you know, short-term or long-term rentals on a piece of property. So a lot of good feedback, a lot of good brainstorming, and good conversation today with that. Something that you guys will be looking to see soon is our new code bicycle unit. We talked about that at a meeting, and they should be all set and ready to go by Memorial Day weekend. So we're going to have that department coming really soon to help with the bicycle issue that we have in the village with the kids on the bicycles, as well as just being a little more, you know, present out of the cars, but having the mobility of not just being on foot. So we're happy to see that coming. And then another exciting thing is, of course, you know, the Barnum lot has opened. We had our ribbon cutting ceremony for the Barnum lot. And because of all the new technology there, we're able to track and see who's parking there for how long, what the demographic is, and what we're seeing is exactly what that parking lot was intended for, which is having employees be the majority of the cars parking there, employees of the different retail establishments as well as the restaurants. It's freeing up a lot of parking spaces now for the customers, for the retail establishments, which has been fantastic. The counter that is in place now will tell you as you drive by without even entering the lot how many spaces are still available. We've had fantastic feedback on that, and we're getting requests to have that in other lots around the village. So all good stuff. Thank you, Mark.
Great. Kathy Ann, question for you.
Yeah.
Over at the Port Jeff Lobster House, those spots that are in front of the Port Jeff Lobster House, do you scan the QR code and you get 2 hours, or do you still have to pay for those lots, and are residents exempted from that?
Yeah, so you do need to scan in with the QR code. Residents do not have to pay, but they do have to observe the 2-hour limit, just as if they were parking on, say, Main Street or East Main where there is timed parking. So residents do not have to pay, but they do have to observe the time limit. If you are a non-resident, you scan in, it takes you to the app where you can put your credit card information and you pay for your ride, but as well, you can only stay, excuse me, 2 hours.
Okay, excellent. And for those who don't know, which I don't, we do have an election next month. We have a mayor and 2 trustees up. So, and I'm not, Kathy Ann, what is the date of the election?
June 15th at Village Center. I believe it's 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. is voting.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Kathy Ann? All right, seeing none, thank you again, Kathy Ann, for the report.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. Lisa, you want to talk a little bit about our 2 applications? Well, we have 3 applications tonight, guys. 1213, we received a written request to remove them from the agenda this evening. It did not come from Andrew Malguanera. Apparently, they've hired an attorney. And from what I understand from Allison, the attorney is going to take the lead on this from Andrew. Otherwise, I was going to ask that this application be removed from the agenda. But since they've changed lead counsel or lead status, we're going to give them until the next time they want to appear to see what's going to happen on this. So 1213 is going to be adjourned tonight, or continued, held over until the next meeting. And I think we have a letter, right? Lisa, we have a letter from somebody?
Yes, we have a letter from the attorney.
Okay. Cindy, I didn't print it out, so when that comes up, if you could read that.
Yeah, I have it in front of me to read at 6:30.
All right, perfect. All right, Lisa, let's talk about the first application. I think it's Martinez, Rosalie and Ron, 419 Broadway.
Sure, let me pull that up so we can look at that.
Did everyone get Lisa's report?
Yes.
Okay, good. It looks like a standard pool in-ground application. Lisa, I'm just going to ask you a couple of quick questions while you catch up. Is this was this an existing pool or a new pool that was installed?
So 419 is a proposed pool. It is not installed yet.
Okay. Oh, proposed, right.
And you can see I brought the survey up so that you can see what it looks like. The rear yard's very flat. They have a very large masonry patio in the back here with a fire pit. So I presume for that reason, getting the pool closer than 18 feet to the rear, further than 18 feet from the rear yard line with a standard 18-foot wide pool isn't feasible. So they're looking for 18 feet here rather than the required 20. On the side yard, they're requesting a 14-foot instead of the 20-foot setback. I do have, I don't know if you want me to show them now. I do have some photos that Andrew Malguanera sent of the rear yard, but I don't know if you'd rather wait to see those in the public hearing portion.
I'd like to see them because I didn't get a chance to go out there. So if you could see them. Lisa, while you're bringing those up, question for you. Since it's proposed, why don't they move the pool over 4 feet, put it in line with the masonry patio and eliminate the 6 feet and eliminate the at least one of the 2 variances. I understand the 18-footer, it's pretty obvious, but is there a reason why they don't want to move it over?
It wasn't clear in the application. Just looking at the yard, my assumption is that they're looking to maximize their rear yard. But it does look like there's the space to move it over so that they would not require the full variance there. So let me just pull up.
And Antonio just texted me. He's dialing in. So he said just dialed in on the phone. So he might be popping up.
Okay.
All right.
Let me share this.
Excuse me 1 second.
So this is one image of the rear yard. So this, you can kind of see the limitations on the space there and the large patio. And then maybe this is the better. And that's another image just showing the general area.
So it looks as if there's, my thought was they might have a staircase down in that corner that they were trying to avoid on the patio, but it doesn't look like that. It looks like the access point from that sort of patio wall is actually further down if you show the other photo.
Sure. This one?
Yeah, that looks far enough down that it's going to have to relocate anyway, because it walks straight into the pool as it currently stands. I'm not sure what their plan is for the design of this pool straight adjacent to this walled-in patio, but it's not like the offset that you're talking about, Mark, is not, I don't think, being driven by existing breaks in the wall or stairs or anything like that.
Right. All right. I'm just wondering, what's sort of driving the.
So am I. That was my first question as well.
Probably
Right, and-
lines up nicely with the deck. So, and then they have all of this green area instead of it being kind of hodgepodge, the deck here, pool sticking out over here. Then it would look like they probably have to do a little more patio from the deck,
Lisa, I got a question for you. I'm looking at the picture that Andrew brought up, and at the bottom of the picture, it looks like some type of, I'm going to say gravel driveway, but it may not be a driveway, with a 6x6 border. Any idea what that is? Because it doesn't seem like there's anything over there. I saw the shed. The shed's over here is in the corner, but it appears like there's I want to say a driveway, but I could be wrong.
I don't think they have a pretty large driveway in the front that's paved. If you want me to bring Andrew Malaganara in, he's in the waiting room and can answer these questions. Or if you want to cover it in the public hearing.
We'll cover it in the public hearing. I'm just looking at the picture that Andrew's showing us, and it looks like it's some type of gravel, and like I said, I'll say driveway or area, but on the survey it shows the driveway ending way short of that area, it looks like.
Maybe it's a horseshoe. It's cool.
I mean, it could be a horseshoe pit. It could be you're right. That's a good point. I just was wondering what it was. Because like I said, it looks like you have enough room to push the pool 6 feet towards this gravel driveway or horseshoe pit or whatever it is. So I'm just wondering what their driving force is, but we'll take that up with them when we see them, when we talk to them.
Lisa, if you don't mind, I'm sure these are all the pictures. There's no picture of like standing in the backyard looking at the rear fence, right, to the adjacent property owner behind?
No, I have 3 photos. So there's this one where you can see, this is the fence you're talking, you would like one looking this way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Lisa, do you have an aerial? Can you bring up an aerial?
I can bring up an aerial of that property. Give me 1 second.
I'm just wondering if the rear neighbor, I don't know if it's a flag lot or whatever is behind it, but
there is a flag lot behind it.
Right. So is their rear yard looking into their rear neighbor's front yard?
Yes.
That's interesting. Do we have any, Cindy, do we have any correspondence on this from neighbors or anyone else?
I have had no correspondence.
Okay.
We can ask Andrew. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, Lou. I'm just trying to figure out, at first I thought it was like the gravel driveway from the flag lot, but if you're inside the PVC fence, you wouldn't be seeing that, even if you were standing on their driveway, that PVC fence would obscure you. So I'm just trying to figure out what that is there.
I like the horseshoe pit hypothesis.
You too.
It's good, right? I mean, I want one. Lou, it looks like when I do the measurements on the map, it looks like that house, so it's 417, is like 35 feet away from the rear property line.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see here from the aerial, this is an older image. I think, I don't know when Suffolk County took their aerial images. I think it might have been around 2015 or so. So you don't see the patio here yet, but you can see the proportions of the property and the relative location of the neighbor behind them. And also on this side, I don't actually know, like these secondary structures, the main house for this lot is way up front.
Question for you. Lisa, question. Do they have, they built the deck and the patio? I don't know if the patio requires a CO. Did they get the CO for the patio? I know they have a whole bunch of COs. For the deck, I'm sorry.
The patio doesn't require a CO. There is a CO for a deck in the file, although the deck appears to have changed from, I actually think this property had an above ground pool at one point with like a walkway on it. Not that I don't know if the pool was CO'd, but just from, past photos and stuff in the file. And the deck, the dimension, the specifics of that deck seem to have changed. They do have a CO for the deck, but it no longer has the 3-foot walkway that's described on the CO. And the patio doesn't require a CO.
Right. Patio doesn't require a CO.
Mark, I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but it looks like there's somebody with their hand raised for when we go into public.
Okay, no problem. I'm not gonna bring anybody in until we go into the public session. I think that's another 12 minutes before we do that. But yeah, we'll discuss it with Andrew. All right, and we have a pool here. Lisa, any other pools in the adjacent property? It looks like the one behind it doesn't have a pool. It looks like the one next to it, 2 doors over, looks like it has a pool, but that looks like an above ground pool. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there are pools in the neighborhood. I don't know. I don't know for everyone their permit status and their setbacks. In the immediate, adjacent area, obviously there's no pools very in close proximity. And
didn't we just do a property over here that, this one to the right had the one where the contractor put the pool in wrong? Yeah, over here. Yep, right we are always. Yeah, that's an old picture.
Yeah, there's a house there now and a huge backyard and a pool.
Right. All right, anybody else have any other questions or comments on this application? Nope. All right, then, Lisa, why don't you take us into 29 Laurel? Did everyone get Lisa's report on 29 Laurel? And we've seen these properties on Laurel several times. I've seen them when I remember was on the planning board, and I know I've seen them when I'm on the zoning board. Laurel's one of those interesting roads that has technically two front yards, I guess, or 2 side yards. Am I right?
It's almost all front yard because this is a very unique lot where it's actually on 3 streets, not just 2. So this is Laurel Drive, this is Birch, and then this is Old Post Road East up this way. So pretty much this is all considered front here, this is all considered front here, and then this is all front. So they arguably have maybe some side yard here. They don't really have any rear yard to this house because of the strange nature of the lot. And then also it's kind of even exacerbated by the fact that the house is placed catty corner on the lot. So it really doesn't even have an area directly behind the house that's not in front of a street.
And Lisa, can you bring up an aerial on this? But it's pretty clear. I think we've done some other houses on Laurel that have had similar situations, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Laurel has most the houses on that street will have 2 front yards. If there are many houses that are on Laurel and Old Post. This is a particularly unique one because it's actually on Laurel, Birch, and Old Post.
Right, at the end of the block. Anybody have any questions or comments on this application?
I do have a question, but I wanted to give Lisa a chance to get the aerial if she wants. But if I'm reading the history correctly, they were issued a denial letter for a pool and fence in the front yard. Then the application for the ZBA application was withdrawn, but then there was then a violation issue for constructing a pool without a permit, right? Is that
Yes,
reading it correctly?
that is correct.
Okay.
So this pool is existing. It's an above ground pool. They did come in, I think it was in 2019. I think it says it in the memo. And they were issued a building permit for denial for very similar version, slightly different than what they actually end up constructing. But they did actually submit a ZBA application for relief at that time and then changed their mind and withdrew it. It was subsequently discovered by the ordinance inspector that a pool was installed without a permit, and they were issued a violation for installing a pool without a permit, and are now coming to resolve it.
And this is an above ground pool, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So by similar design, you mean the same front yard in question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying that I don't recall the, so I can also show you the the photos that Andrew provided. This has, in addition to needing the pool variance for the setbacks and it being in the front yard and the standard variances for the fence because it's their front yard fences, this also has a raised platform, like a decking that comes up to the side of the pool, and it's only about 0.4 foot off the property line, so it's effectively on the property line. So they also need that setback for the accessory structure. In the original denial letter, that was not part of the proposal, but they still were proposing a rear yard pool with front yard fence that required various setback relief and the fence height and the fence type and the front yard pool. So they needed relief for many of the same sections of the code, though the specific design of where it was placed and how far the setbacks were might have been slightly different.
A quick question. I'm looking at code 25011CA. The second one listed in the staff report, it says prohibiting pools in the front yard for corner lots.
It does prohibit it front yard for all lots, but yes, it does say no in the front. In a corner lot, you are allowed to have a pool in a side yard, I believe, but it specifically does prohibit them in the front yard for corner lots.
Gotcha. So they're envisioning in theory, it doesn't say anything about double corner lots. So that's why they're still coming up against that. Gotcha.
Yes, this is definitely a very exceptional property. We don't have many properties on 3 streets, I don't think.
Cindy, do we have comments on this application?
No, we have received no comments on this application.
Okay. All right. Might take us an hour just to read all the variances they're going for.
Yes, I mean, some of these are very standard for front yard pools on corner lots. We see, generally speaking, you have at least the front yard pool in a front yard, the fence height and the fence type on all of our applications for pools on corner lots.
Lisa, 2 things. Number one, you keep cutting out a little bit when you're talking.
I'm hearing the same thing.
Yeah, you're cutting out when you talk, like you drop out and then you come back in. The other thing is the open fence type on variance number 6. Are they going for a solid PVC fence? Is that what they're going for?
The fence type actually changes a little bit on the different sides of the property. So they have a PVC solid fence maybe it's best if I bring up the photos. Hold on one second. Let's see if I can find those.
Yes, please.
Lisa, while you're looking for that, are above ground pools treated the same as in ground in the code?
Yes. Okay, let me see. I think I'm just pulling them all up so I can flip through them more easily. Okay, so you can see here the pool, and this here we have a solid fence, but let me try to find here on Old Post Road. It's actually an open style metal fence, which really fades into the background. You don't notice it as much from the roadside because of that.
Yeah, it's like black chain link behind trees, right?
That's correct.
That solid fence is a side yard, right?
So here, that piece of the solid fence is a little bit in front of the front foundation, but it's mostly in the side yard. You can see here from this image that it transitions to that open chain link fence as it gets close to Old Post Road, and kind of disappears behind the trees when that happens.
Do you mean in front of the front foundation on Old Post Road side or on the Laurel side?
This part we're looking at is on the Old Post Road side, not the, oh, sorry, that's the other house, not the Laurel side. So I'll pull up the application again. I'm just flipping to see if we have any that are good images of the other side. This is still the Old Post Road side of the fence.
Yeah, you don't even see it.
And then from on this side, the Laurel side, this part of the fence is actually in a side yard. So that's not really at issue here.
Lisa, any idea how long this pool has been here and these items have been in here? Have been constructed? How long they've been there?
I believe it was constructed in 2019. Let me see when the violation was written. It should be in here. Sorry.
And then once we answer that question, it's 6:30, so we can go into the public portion of the hearing.
Okay, so the violation was written on May 1st, 2020. I don't know exactly the date that the pool was installed. All right.
Does anybody else have any questions for Lisa? All right. Lisa, when you're ready, we can now begin the public portion of the hearing. Let me know when.
Okay.
We're ready.
We are live, so I think whatever you have to do to start the meeting, and I perhaps start with reading in the letter from for the postponement.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Port Jefferson, the May 20th, 2021. We have several items on the agenda tonight. And we're going to begin, as per the posted agenda, with 1213 Main Street. We received some correspondence from the applicant in which Cindy Suarez is going to read into the minutes.
Zoning Board of Appeals of Incorporated Village of Port Jefferson regarding application for use variance with respect to 1213 Main Street in the Village of Port Jefferson, New York. Appeal number 562-21, tax map parcel, District 206, 17-5-7. I am being retained as legal counsel to represent the property owner with respect to the above referenced pending application, so as to allow me to review the facts and circumstances surrounding the subject property and the application. I respectfully request that the application be adjourned to July 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Zoning Board. Thank you for your consideration of this adjournment request. Respectfully yours, John M. Wagner, care of Sertelman, Ballin, Adler and Hyman LLP.
Okay, and
And
before
the
we
letter is
make a
dated
motion
May
on,
19th.
and before we make a motion on this hearing, for the public's purposes, for anyone that's been following this application, we have adjourned it several times. The reason why we're not removing it from the agenda is because the letter that we received is now from a lawyer who is now taking over the application for the applicant and has requested it. We will give him the courtesy of extending it until the June meeting or July.
July.
Yes, for June
It
or
will
July.
be July
July.
22nd.
Okay, we will give him a adjournment till July 22nd, at which point, should he want to adjourn again, then we'll have to review it and make some decisions. I make a motion that we adjourn the appeal number 562-21, 1213 Main Street to the July Zoning Board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Seeing none, hearing none, the motion is carried. All right. We are going to move on to 419 East Broadway. Lisa, can you let Andrew, I assume Andrew's in the waiting room?
Yes, Andrew's in the waiting room, and we have a number of people in the waiting room, some with their hands up. So once Andrew joins us, we'll figure out who else we maybe need to bring in.
Okay. Good evening, Andrew.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Okay, I'm going to read the application to the minutes, and then we'll begin the hearing. This is for 419 East Broadway. It's appeal number 565-21, Suffolk County Tax Map Number Section 9, Block 1, Lot 45.1. Zoning District RB2 Residential. Property owner is Ronald Alonzo and Rosalie Martinez. The applicant is Andrew Malguanera, care of Brookhaven Expeditors. The contact is Andrew Malguanera, care of Brookhaven Expeditors. And this is an area variance request. The applicant requests permission to install an 18 by 36 foot in-ground swimming pool, 18 feet from the rear property line and 14 feet from the side property line, where the Village Code Section 250-11C, Section 3, Subsection A prohibits pools to be located within 20 feet of the property line. Andrew, before you begin, can you be sworn in by the court order, please? Debbie, can you swear him in, please?
Yes, sir. Do you swear the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Andrew, we're going to let you give your presentation.
Yes, Andrew Malguanera, 713 Main Street, Port Jefferson, agent for the applicant. So here is a proposed in-ground pool, 18 by 36, standard size pool, and the reasoning for the setback request is for the rear, you can see there is a masonry patio that we need to avoid, and on the side, we are looking for a 14-foot relief, for the simple fact that that's just the way the property is situated, and it's the best location for this pool to maximize their actual remaining outdoor space, as well as the fact that if you look at the pictures of the house, you could see that the patio is the main outdoor location of for my client. And if you move the pool within 20 feet, it would kind of look disjointed and wouldn't fit the property whatsoever. I don't feel if the request is that substantial. We have gotten direct approval in the area of similar nature at 101 Oakwood, just down the street. And we don't feel it has any adverse effects on the characteristics of the neighborhood as well. If the board has any questions, please let me know.
Andrew, just hold on one sec. You mentioned you had some pictures. Lisa, can you show the picture? Can you put the pictures up for the public? And Cindy will call that Exhibit A.
Okay.
You can put them all together, Cindy, one exhibit, it's fine.
Okay.
Andrew, while she's bringing them up, Lisa Rickmers produced a staff report. Did you get a copy of that?
I did.
You did. Thank you. And for the record, this is a type 2 action under the SECRA. All right, Andrew, if you could just walk us through what we're looking at here, if you don't mind.
Hey, Lisa, I think
That's the other house, I believe. On Laurel. Yeah.
Wait. Sorry, on my
That's
screen.
29 Laurel.
On my screen, it's showing the correct ones. So hold on. It's still showing you Laurel on your screen?
I think if you stop share, you'll have to select the other window.
Hold on, I'll stop and I will close the Laurel pictures so that they don't show up.
Another example of technology making our lives better.
Happens.
All right, let's try this again.
Andrew, I'm looking at the survey that was included in the packet.
Yes.
And again, we'll have Lisa put that up after she shows us the pictures. All right, we're gonna look, walk us through the pictures first, Andrew.
So that's the masonry patio and the deck. And as you can see, that is the focal point of the backyard. Past that is, yes, it's the backyard still, but that's not the main entertainment space. The entertainment space is right there. And that's where they want the pool to be. And as well as if you put it in the middle, then they don't really have any direct backyard. You'll just have a pool in the middle of it and no real space to, to entertain and whatnot. So, it's just the overall nature of their backyard, just the location. This is the best spot for it.
Lisa, can you continue to move through the photos?
Tell me if you're seeing them change right now. Did you get a new photo or no?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
We're back. Change. Andrew, and this property is a flag lot. The frontmost property surrounded by a flag parcel. Am I correct in saying that?
Behind us, yes, there's a flag lot. It's a flag lot. Correct. And there's no the house next to us is further up, so our pool is not near their house in the front as well.
Lisa, can you show us the next photo? I don't know if you're trying. I'm sorry, I'm rushing you.
No, I'm just waiting for your cues. Here you go. Can you see this one?
Yeah. Oh.
This is the same photo. It's there we go.
It
just went back
switches
to
and then
first
keeps
photo.
switching back to us.
It's very funny that it's doing that. It's very stable
Yes, it
on my
is.
screen. I will try to share. Let me see, which one haven't I? Okay, how's that?
Good.
This is looking from I guess this is from the flag driveway. I guess with my back to the flag driveway.
This is the
Am I
shed.
right in
That's
saying
the
that, Andrew?
shed. That's the shed of in our backyard. Again, of which we're trying to go as far away as possible with the pool.
Okay. Lisa, can you move to the next one if there is another one?
There were 3, so I think you've seen all 3 so far. We do have some,
Okay.
I believe the homeowner and somebody else have hands raised in the waiting room, just so you're aware.
And Lisa, that's fine. For the record, for the public portion, we've only seen 2 pictures.
Oh, okay.
Can you show us the one that?
Yes. Let's see.
I'm just trying to make sure that the public sees everything we're seeing, please.
Can you see that one?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So this is the 3rd picture. It's now, Andrew, the shed is if I'm standing here, the shed's to my left. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Andrew, do you have anything else you want to add to your presentation before I open it up to the board to ask questions?
I do not.
Okay. Andrew, I have several questions for you that I'm going to start throwing at you, and then I'm going to open it up to my other board members. My first question is, looking at the bottom of this picture, what is that I'm looking at? Because on the survey, it doesn't show anything. Is that some type of? I'm talking about the 4x4 and the what appears to be the stone or crushed stone. What is that? Is that a driveway? Yes.
No, it's a simple play area for the kids. There's trampoline there and whatnot, just to not to keep the grass intact, more or less. So that's what that is.
Okay, so is that just lack of a better phrase, that's a mulch or some type of soft play surface?
It's no, it's stone.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. The other question I have for you, Andrew, is the rear of the property maintaining 18 feet. I completely understand why the homeowner wants to do that. Looking at it from left to right, why doesn't your client move the pool over 6 more feet, square it up with what would, and again, I'm going off your survey. Lisa, can you bring up that survey for us, please? Why doesn't your client just square the pool off with the masonry patio and avoid the second variance?
Well, even if you squared it off, you still need a variance of some sort. I mean, you're only talking, if you pull the survey up, maybe we can see it.
We're going to bring it.
Yeah, it's only a couple feet. It's only a couple feet. And again, it's just trying to maximize some sort of yard, because if you move this 6 foot, the pool's directly in the center. You no longer have a yard of any sort. And on top of that, as I said in the beginning, the patio section is their main entertainment space, and that's where the pool is going to be in front of. Otherwise, it's in the side end. It would look disjointed if you go back to the picture. If it's half showing from the deck area and half not, and directly in the center of this yard. And again, there is precedence in this area for this similar setback as well.
Have they thought about making the pool smaller? Because like my pool is 16 by 32. Just, couldn't they make this, instead of 36-foot pool, have a 32-foot pool?
Yeah, this is the pool that they would like to have. But yeah, they could, anyone can you could definitely make a smaller pool if need be. But I still don't feel like this is a big request, and on top of the precedence that is again in the area. And
Andrew, you keep saying, could you give me, just for the record, can you give us the precedence you're referring to?
Yeah, it's 101 Oakwood. It's about 4 or 5 houses down.
Okay.
Bigger yard than this, actually.
Lisa, can you bring up an aerial?
Yeah.
Lisa, can you bring up an aerial and just show us 101 Oakwood, please?
Sure. Just
while we're doing that, if the board has any questions, feel free to ask Andrew.
Andrew, I have a question for you. There's no image, but if you've seen the yard, or if anybody else on the phone can answer this, is there any vegetation along that rear line that would create kind of a visual buffer between the front yard of the rear property, or is it pretty open?
I think it slightly inclines a little bit, and with a 6-foot fence, I don't believe that the property behind us at the flag lot has much visibility into this lot.
We're at a raised, your client's at a raised elevation compared to
a lower it kind of goes lower, so it goes higher towards his lot, and then there's a 6-foot fence. So with both those factors, If you go back to the picture, you can see it a little bit what I'm talking about. But I don't believe there's any, factor for the flag lot on the side. And as I said, with the bigger setback that we're asking for, the 14-foot, there's no house directly to that side. There's the house is set far, so far in front that there's no effect for them as well.
Hey, Andrew, you keep on bringing up 101 Oakwood, right, as precedent, but that pool was already constructed, right? And you sought the variance afterwards. Where
Absolutely. But the fact of the matter is we're doing it the right way here. We're not trying to do it. He could have built this and we could have came here and, paid a couple extra dollars and been on our way. Understood exactly what you're saying. But I don't think we should be penalized for doing it the right way.
Well, that application was almost denied because it was done the wrong way, right?
Understood.
This is the image of the Oakwood property, but it doesn't have the house or the pool on it right now because the aerial was taken before that time.
Andrew, are there any other precedents in this area, or is this the one you're referring to for your?
There's a house on Burke. If you go, I don't know if we could get it here, if it's even on the area. If you go up. If you go up a little bit more, that house on 64, that setback, it seems to be within the required setback from what we could tell.
Andrew, have you the rear property owners, the ones whose front faces the applicant's rear yard and the pool, did they have any comments, or has anyone spoken? Did they reach out to you at all, or the applicant?
Neither neighbor has contacted my office with any issue. I don't know. There are people in the audience. I don't know. I don't believe there's any issue, but I haven't heard any.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Mr. Malgranera?
Are you aware of any consideration on the part of the client around right? Because that's not just a patio at grade that's back there that the pool is going against. It's kind of walled in and has an opening in the back that looks as if it's going to step directly into the pool. Is the offset part of, is the new access that would need to be created to the yard part of the consideration around the offset at the east end of that pool, or are you aware of anything in that regard?
I'm not aware. This is the pool company designed this along with the client, and reached out. So I'm not aware of that information.
I was trying to suss out why it is the offset that Mr. Brosnan was asking about, and whether that was part of the rationale. If you
Understood.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board for the applicant? It's my understanding that the applicant is in the waiting room. Is that correct, Lisa?
Yes, the homeowners are in the waiting room, and there's actually 3 people with hands raised in the waiting room right now. Sorry, Mark, you're cutting out.
Is the on this application? Does the owner want to speak on the application?
Yeah, I can bring. Yeah, I'll bring the homeowners in.
Let's start with them, and then we'll bring the other people in one at a time.
Okay, so I've brought in Ron Alonso. I don't know if I see. Okay, there.
Here we are.
Yeah, we're together. We're both. I'm signed on one computer. He's signed on another.
Okay, so you have your hand raised as well, but I'm going to just bring you in one time. Okay.
Bring us in once, yeah.
All right. So for the record, we're here because it's our hearing. So of course we're going to raise our hand. We're going to be in here. If there's any questions that anybody needs us to answer, we'll be more than happy to answer. All of our neighbors know we're getting a pool. They're all okay with it. We've been friendly for years. No one has an issue. Our pool doesn't face anyone's house. We're good. We're good on our end. The only thing we would like is for the village to update our names, because we've been married for a while. It's Ronald and Rosalie Alonso, It's with an S.
Our names are incorrect. And as far as the patio is concerned, it's not a step down. The patio is level to the grass, so there is no step. Once you step off the patio, you're flush with the grass. I heard you. You were asking if that was a step down or not.
Right. And what we're going to do is obviously we're going to put down more brick down there around the pool. So yeah, that's how I talk with my hands. I'm sorry.
Mr. Alonso, question for you regarding the application.
Yes, sir.
I dropped out quick, so I apologize if you answered this already, but if you wouldn't mind. Do you know why, could you explain to the board why you can't push your pool 6 feet to the west and eliminate that?
We could, but like Andrew said, we're trying to save some of our yard. We have a nice yard. We were throwing parties in it, but now we're realizing if we put a pool in there, we're going to lose a lot of our yard. So we're really trying to save some of our yard so we can have yard also with the pool and the patio and everything together.
Okay, so you're doing it strictly to maximize the rear yard space. Am I correct?
Because we have young kids in the yard and they need the space to move around and play. And, when they're not in the pool and the months that we're not going to have the pool, they're going to still be in the yard and we're going to need a little bit more space for them to move around.
And plus we have the shed there. We want to be too close to the shed with the pool either. So that's another reason.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for the applicant? Owner, I'm sorry. Applicant is Andrew. Seeing none, hearing none.
Well, I'll reiterate Tracy's question that Andrew Malguanara had mentioned that 36 by 18 is a standard pool size. She mentioned that also 32 by 16 is as well. Was there a consideration of the one size slightly smaller?
There was a consideration. We already went through it with the pool company. They have our order in. We're in. We don't want to change anything because it's going to change our date, and we just want to leave everything alone because we have to wait a while.
And it's proportionate to the patio and everything else, and it does give feasible room to walk around in terms of just aesthetically. It's proportionate. The pool company told us that this would be the right size. The 32, I believe, was just a hair too small, and it was coming off of the end. So, I mean, we had a bunch of different quotes with sizes.
What do you mean by coming off of the end? I'm sorry.
We didn't want to come too far off of the end of the rear patio. I don't know how to scale it, but it was just, again, in lining it up and keeping it proportionate, that was the best design model, size and design model. But I mean, Lisa, if we have to consider making it smaller,
Well, I'm just trying to understand the reasoning. Lisa, would you be willing to share their survey?
Yeah.
Basically it's the size we want and it should be doable. It's not like we're asking for this monster pool. It's an 18 by 36 and we really don't want to make it smaller if we don't have to.
Do you happen to have a dimension for that patio or no?
No.
It's not on the survey?
No.
Let's see.
No.
No.
Looks as if it's probably around 32 right here.
Yeah.
It's possible, yeah.
Just judging by the fact that this 36 runs a little bit longer, but it's also shifted. Right. Yeah, I was just trying to understand what you meant by hanging over the end in terms of your answer.
Well, I'm sorry, now that I'm seeing it in front of me, it's more towards the front. The way it was originally planned out, we didn't like the way it was kind of hanging more towards the front side, the front rear, because there's an entrance. And when you look at our patio, there's an in and an out, and we just didn't want it lined up.
That's right here, yes?
Yeah, it was just about the proportions. That's where we wanted it to stay. So if they moved it, it wouldn't be so proportionate to where we were putting like an entrance into the pool. So we were trying to keep all the measurements proportionate.
Okay, that actually touches on my other question. I had asked Mr. Malguanara if he had any sense for if the location of the pool was related to the existing opening in the wall. I think I understood that your patio was level after looking at some of the other photos, but it still has that wall around it, so access is limited. and is currently
Right.
in this location, which will step directly into
There's
the
actually
pool.
2 access points. There's an access point right where you're pointing, and then
Mhm.
there's an access point on the other side. There's an opening of that wall by the 5-foot PVC fence. There's by the fire pit. There's also an opening right there.
So over in here somewhere.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Mark, there is one other person in the waiting room who does have a hand up.
All right, Lisa, can we leave the owners in the Zoom meeting with us? If you could just mute them, and if we have a question for them, they can answer it and bring in the person in the waiting room, please.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. This the name is Celeste. That let's see if she is here. Celeste, if you're there, you have been promoted to a panelist and you can now speak in the meeting.
Actually, I was,
Celeste, I'm sorry, before you speak, could you just hold on 1 minute? I need to swear you in.
okay.
The court reporter, there we go. Debbie, could you please swear in? I only have Celeste, so I'm just calling her Celeste.
May I have your last name first, please, and the spelling?
Okay, it's RADGOWSKI.
Thank
And
you.
your address, please?
Oh, I'm at 48 Laurel Drive. I'm across from 29. And I was listening in, so I don't have a comment about this.
Oh, okay.
All right. That's the next application. So we're gonna take you out of the room, and we're gonna bring in
Thank
anyone else who'd like to speak on the 419.
Okay, I don't at this time have anyone else with their hand up for this application.
Okay. Does anyone else from the board have any other questions for the owners or the applicant? Seeing none, what I'm going to do is, Andrew, we're just going to walk through the normal questions that we always do, and just bear with me a second. Let me grab my paperwork here. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. I moved locations and now I misplaced all my paperwork. Bear with me 1 sec. The application. Here we go. All right, Andrew, we're going to walk through the 5 criteria. And again, I've got to find my paperwork on this. Hold on, bear with me. Just bear with me a second. Just bear with me. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No rush.
See what happens when you move locations? You mess everything up. All right. First criteria. Lisa, do you have the criteria in front of you? I just don't have it in front of me right now. I should know by heart by now. But
You don't have it memorized?
I believe it or not, I don't.
Okay. Whether the benefit can be achieved by other means feasible to the applicant.
Not without losing our yard.
Okay.
Will an undesirable change in the neighborhood character or to nearby properties be created?
Absolutely not. There'll be no issue. And again, there's similar pool in the area as well.
Is the request substantial?
I do not feel it is. I feel it's a request that has been granted in the village as a whole before.
And whether the request will have adverse physical or environmental effects?
It will not.
And is the difficulty self-created?
It's not self-created yet, but it will be once they build it.
Okay, if no one else has any questions or comments, do I have a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Andrew. Well,
Thank
Andrew,
you.
you're going to stay on for the next one.
Yep.
Rosalie Wanzo, thank you very much. And you should have an answer hopefully by tomorrow morning. You can contact Cindy Suarez. Thank you. I hate this. I am
Just trying to find
All
his
right.
stuff.
Yeah, I moved and now I'm all screwed up. I had everything all set up and laid out right, and then I moved. So now we're gonna
It
find
was
the
a
right
nice setup.
report.
I was jealous.
Yeah, it was. It
Yeah.
was. It was.
Yeah, I was almost going to go
Unfortunately,
outside myself.
All right. The next application we have tonight is 29 Laurel Drive, and I believe, Andrew, you're representing as well.
Yes.
Okay. 29 Laurel Drive, appeal number 564-21, section 10, block 3, lot 23, zoning RB2 residential. Property owners are Joseph and Patricia O'Neill and Giorgio Regini. Applicant is Andrew Malguanera, care of Brookhaven Expeditors. Contact is Andrew Malguanera, care of Brookhaven Expeditors. And there are 6 variance requests this evening for this property. The first one is the applicant has requested permission to maintain an existing 24 by 12 oval above ground pool 5.5 feet from the western property line and in the front yard of the property along Old Post Road. Village of Port Jefferson Code 250-11C, Section 3, subsection A requires that all pools must be set back 20 feet from any property line. Village of Port Jefferson Code Section 250-11C, subsection 3, Part A prohibits any portion of the swimming pool to be located within the front yard. Item number 3, applicant requests permission to maintain an existing accessory wood deck structure 0.4 feet from the westerly property line where section 250-28A, subsection 1, part B of the code of the Village of Port Jefferson requires all accessory structures to maintain a 5-foot setback from a property line. Variance number 4, applicant requests permission to maintain said existing wood deck forward of the line of the principal building where section 250-28A, section 2 states that no accessory structure shall project nearer to the street on which the principal building fronts than such principal building. 5, applicant requests permission to maintain a 6-foot tall chain link fence and PVC fence on top of a retaining wall in the front yard of the subject property along Old Post Road. Village of Port Jefferson Code Section 250-28C, subsection 4, Part A limits the height of the fence in the front yard to 3 feet in height. Variance number 6, Village of Port Jefferson Code Section 250-28C, subsection 4, Part A requires that any fence enclosing a front yard of any lot must be of open wood type construction. Andrew, you're representing this. And before we go forward, Andrew, Lisa, can you put the survey up for the public just so we could do a quick explanation of what's going on here before Andrew begins?
Sure.
Because anyone listening or watching is probably scratching their head. Because it's
There's a long list.
Doesn't sound. Yes, and it doesn't. And people are going, how can you have 2 front yards? Andrew, for the record, you got a copy of the report from Lisa Rickmers?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right, just for the record here, this property is bordered on 3 roads, Old Post, Birch, and Laurel. As you could see here, we consider the Old Post and Laurel on this property 2 possible front yards, and that's what this application is for. Yes, I realize the house faces Laurel, but according to our code, technically this piece of property has 2 front yards, hence the 6 variance requests. Andrew, I'm now going to turn it over to you and let you
Okay.
proceed.
So what we have here looks a lot worse on paper than it does, in reality. As you can see, this is a unique lot. It's a peninsula, more or less, and it's just front yard. So there's no getting around a variance in this circumstance. You won't really see this too often. So although it is a quote unquote decent request, overall, it is a unique lot that you're not going to have similarities with in the village as a whole. And if you look at the pictures, it really doesn't look as bad with the pictures as it does on the survey. As you see, it looks like, we got this road and the pool in the front yard, and it would be, you would think, obtrusive, except it is raised up from Old Post Road. There are many trees in front of it. You can't even tell it's there by looking at it. If you look at the pictures that we submitted along with this, everything has been there for a little over 2 years now. No issues. The neighbor at 49 Laurelton, I understand, has zero objection with it, and they're the only ones directly affected by our application here. The deck itself is mostly on the ground, and then there's a step up into the above ground pool. I mean, they just have to, it's not a big deck. It's just the ability to get into the pool. And again, it has no adverse effects overall to the area as a whole. If the board has any questions, please let me know.
All right, Andrew, just hold on 1 second, please. You mentioned you submitted some pictures for the board to consider. Lisa, can you bring them up?
Yes.
And Cindy will make those Exhibit A for this application.
Okay, so this is one of the images. I'm going to try to flip through them, but I may have to stop share and reshare for each image.
All right, Lisa, before you do that, Andrew, just tell us what we're looking at, please.
So that is along Old Post. The walls were there previously, and the chain link fence is for the pool. As you need at least a 5-foot fence for any pool. So that is the reasoning for that. It is chain link. You cannot see it from the road. It's very little visibility at all. You wouldn't even really know it's there by driving down the road.
And the PVC fence is the fence that is not open wood type construction. So this would be essentially for variance number 6. Am I right?
Correct. And it's on the, it's more on the side, quote unquote would be the side of their house, but it is technically everything's the front yard. So technically it is the front yard.
And Cindy, while Lisa's flipping through, we have no correspondence on this.
It leads to Old Post.
We have had no correspondence.
Thank you, Cindy.
Can you see this new photo, or do I need to stop share and reshare?
Stop and reshare, please.
Okay, this shows the pool, the raised deck, and the neighbor's yard behind them.
Correct. So as you can see, the deck starts on the ground, goes up to the pool as an entry point to the pool. Not a tremendous size deck.
And the 5 feet for the, I'm sorry, recording of pools maintain a 20-foot setback. That would be the neighbor's property is the one that's most affected by this. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, that the neighbor I think it's 4-9, and speaking to them, they have no issue.
Andrew, do you know when all this was originally constructed?
I believe 2 years ago.
Okay. Cool. Okay, Andrew, can you tell us what we're looking at, please?
It's a direct view of the pool from the entry point of the yard. To your right is Old Post and all the trees. And again, it's raised up above. And to the left is the house.
Lisa, do we have any more pictures, or is that it?
Yeah, there's more. I will share. I'll keep sharing. Unfortunately, it's not letting me scroll through them.
If you're willing, you can also share a portion of your screen as an alternate option, which allows you to toggle between different windows, but it will show within what you framed the entirety of your screen.
Well,
Right. This is a different view of the deck in question, entry point into the pool.
yeah, so this is probably the best view, I think, of the images of how close the deck comes to the property line.
Right, and it is directly because of not only the shape of the lot, but the way the house is situated on the lot. It's just there's no space overall. Even if you quote unquote could pick up the pool and move it to the right, there's overhead wires that has to be a certain distance from. So there's really no other option here because of the uniqueness of the lot.
Does anybody have any questions for Andrew while Lisa is scrolling through pictures for us?
Out of curiosity, Mr. Malguanara, did you represent the clients in 2019 when they applied for the prior zoning variance that they withdrew from?
Yeah, I did not.
Okay. Do you have any insight into what happened in there?
I don't know directly. I surmise it's just a little daunting to do this for some people, and there's a lot of paper. That's why people call me. So I think it just became a little too much, and not knowing the ramifications of it. They paid the price with the filing fee and whatnot above and beyond.
Come on, Andrew, we're not that scary.
No, you're not. You're not. It's the paperwork. It's probably scarier than you guys. So.
Let me show. I've got some. The other images are very similar, but this one does show the view of the fence from Old Post Road, which I think is relevant because
right
it disappears.
Right. As you can see, it's it's not there. It's raised above with many shrubbery and trees and whatnot in front.
Andrew, when did your client move into the house? The pool already existed, right?
I don't have that information. I believe they were the ones who did it.
Okay.
But as you can see from this, I mean, the house is set so far back on this lot. That's already, as I keep saying, unique because it is. You're not going to see this in the village. So there will be no direct correlation for something like this with any other lot.
Does the board have any other questions for Andrew? All right, Lisa, I think that we've seen enough of the pictures, unless someone else wants to see the rest of the pictures. Let's bring in members of the public that would like to speak on this.
Okay, I'm going to promote Patricia to panelist. Patricia, you have joined the meeting as a panelist, and if you unmute yourself, you can speak.
Patricia, can you hear me? Patricia, I cannot hear you. If you can unmute.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Patricia, can
Okay,
you hear
great.
me?
I'm driving upstate, so it's a little hard.
Okay. Patricia, before you speak, could you just be sworn in, please? Debbie, can you swear Patricia in, please?
I'm not allowed to swear somebody in who I cannot visually see.
Okay. Patricia, I know you're driving. Can you state your name and your address for the record, please?
Hi, my name is Patricia O'Neill, and it's 29 Laurel Drive, Port Jeff.
All right. For the record, Patricia claims she's driving, so for her to go on screen would be unsafe. So we're gonna let her provide comments, and we'll seek advisement from council after the hearing.
It's perfectly appropriate.
Hello?
Perfect. Patricia, go ahead. You're welcome to speak.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
The fence was, when we bought the house, the fence was there, but it was a rotted wooden fence. So what we did was we replaced it with the PVC in the front and the back so I could see the trees. I put 6 feet of black chain link. But the land itself is 6 feet up from Old Post Road. And I'm on like a triangle. So where you say is my front yard is my backyard. So my front door faces the corner of Laurel and Birch, so it's very strange. But the fence was there. We just replaced it.
Okay, and Patricia, you're Patricia Regini, the current owner of the property. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to clarify that for the record.
And also, we just put the deck up.
Okay. How long have you owned the property, Ms. Regini?
December 2017.
Okay, so you've owned it for a while. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Regini?
I do, yes. I was wondering, so you had originally applied or at least had an application
Right.
in 2019, which was withdrawn, and then the violation was issued in May of 2020. Can you give us some insight as to what happened there?
Impatience, really. We were waiting months and months and months, and we just got impatient. And then we put off putting up the pool. She got, the woman who was doing it was busy and kept on going next month. So, and then, 2020. So we just put it off for another year.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other
I'm
questions?
sorry, do you mean impatience for the process of the variance or impatience for the builder of the pool schedule?
The woman, the expediter.
Ah.
Okay.
And also, figuring out how to do it, exactly like 5 foot away from the back fence, 20 feet from the house. So, we tried to follow all the other zoning laws. And my neighbor said he doesn't mind being close to his fence, and you could even call him if you want.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right, Ms. Regini, I'm just going to have them mute you, but I'd like you to stay in and listen in case we have a question for you that possibly Mr. Malgranaro might not be able to answer. So if that's okay with you, if you could just listen in.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you. Lisa, can you mute Ms. Regini and then bring in the next person, please?
Sure. Let me see. Let me just.
Andrew, you have no objection to that. I'm sorry, I should have asked you first.
Absolutely
Thank
not. Oh, no.
If there's
Thank you.
anyone in the waiting room who has a question, please, or a comment for this public hearing, you may use the raise hand icon and I will bring you in as a panelist. At the moment, no one has, there's one person in the waiting room who's not requesting to participate.
Okay, so the woman Celeste doesn't want to speak. That came in on the earlier left application.
It does
Is
not
she in the
appear.
waiting room, Lisa?
She is.
Okay.
It does not appear that she wishes to speak.
Okay, I just want to give her the opportunity, that's all. Does anyone have any other questions or comments for the applicant since we've exhausted all the people in the waiting room? Seeing none and hearing none, we're going to walk through the criteria, and this time I'm much better prepared. Andrew, just work with me here.
Yes.
Just answer as I give you the question. Just give me whether the benefit can be achieved by other means feasible to the applicant.
Not due to the uniqueness of the lot and the power lines as well.
Okay. Is there an undesirable change in the neighborhood or the character of, by doing this will have any effect on the other properties?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Whether the request is substantial, I think that's a mixed bag in this case. There are some that would be considered substantial and some maybe not so. Do you agree?
Right. Yes, it'd be more substantial if this was a normal lot, but yes.
Yes, I agree. Whether there would be any adverse physical or environmental effects?
No.
Okay. And whether you allege a difficulty was self-created, I think we can say yes, but it's also aggravated by the uniqueness of the lot.
Exactly right.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding this application? Hearing none and seeing none, can I have a motion to close this hearing, please?
I'll make a motion.
All right, Tracy made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I believe Andrew did it. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you,
Night,
Mr. Jean.
Andrew.
Thank you.
Drive safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you. Lisa, you okay? You look like you were, your head was going to explode. You all right?
No, I'm just focusing right now on you got to move the panelists, but everyone moves when I use this, so it's hard to grab them.
Rich is still in here, right?
I believe we still have the owner from the previous.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm just changing them to attendee,
go.
but it's sometimes the names rotate as I try to hold them.
Always.
That's why they pay you the big bucks, Lisa.
Hazard pay here.
Yeah. All right, let's discuss 419, which is the Alonzo proposed in-ground pool. Questions, thoughts, comments? Anybody have any issues, any questions? As previously stated, it's a type 2 action under SECRA.
I have an issue. I mean, it seems like there's many ways to achieve this without a variance on the side yard. I mean, I have no issue with the setback in the back whatsoever. I don't, but you could build a smaller pool. You could move the pool over. You could do a combination of the both, and but it seems like those avenues have not been pursued.
I was really searching for sort of a design explanation for why it ended up there, right? Because they're sort of coming here to get a variance when if they shrunk the pool ever so slightly and lined it up with their deck, they'd lose almost no pool size, almost no yard size, and wouldn't have to get either of these variances, actually. It feels like they were really misserved by the pool company that talked to them, but that was the best I could elicit as an explanation for why it went down this way.
Right. I mean, if we were to grant one of the variances and not the other, that would still put them in a position where they could achieve what they want, right? I mean,
right. I mean, obviously, asking them to shift the pool 6 feet back over from the side yard is a more significant change than to, than the 2 feet in the back. But I hear what you're saying, that the 2 feet in the back is not a huge ask.
Yeah, I mean,
but it is.
There's nothing they can do about that, right? Without knocking out the patio, which is not feasible. I mean, so that I can understand.
But even so, I don't see, there wasn't any cogent rationale offered for why this must be the pool size either.
Right.
So it's like,
yeah.
I mean, they settled on it, and at this point, they don't want to replace their order, which I understand. I know pool companies are terribly backed up right now. It's kind of a nightmare, actually, for anyone trying to get a pool.
Yeah,
definitely. So I understand if they're locked in on some bad early advice, they don't want to change it now, and I'm totally sympathetic, but I still couldn't figure out why it was that they were asking for exactly this, understanding that the code is what it is.
To make a comment, and even though, Andrew kind of tried to, I was a little confused in that Andrew was using the Oakwood one, which was a screw up by the pool company, not by, not due to a boarding application. However, that one is similar. It's a 5-foot variance. This one's a 6-foot variance. It's in the same neighborhood, within a couple of houses. So you could make the argument, and, with Andrew, make the argument that the precedent is that it does still, there is precedent for a 5-foot, in this case 6, but.
The reason I asked, again, like I remember that because it was only last month. And I remember vividly saying, if it had come to us before you built it, we would have denied this. So here we are in a situation where it's coming to us before they built it.
Well, so that was a little weird because it did come to us before they built it, but they showed 20 feet. So they weren't asking for that variance. They were asking to build a pool in a front yard, which we granted because they had a through lot. And then they built the pool.
This is different.
No, the Oakwood got built wrong, but we had a variance for that prior a ways back.
Yes.
So they came to us, which to me was the strongest indication that it was an actual mistake, even though nothing can be for sure, right? But the idea that they asked for a thing that didn't require that side yard setback, and then they accidentally, so they claim, built it, to Brookhaven instead of Port Jeff standards. But it is frustrating because his point about trying to do it right and ask for permission rather than forgiveness is correct. Like, I don't want to punish the people that are asking and then, grant it for the people that come. Right. I mean, this was the debate we had when we granted that variance.
Yeah, and that's a concerning comment to me, by the way, because it kind of feeds right into the next application we're going to discuss. But
right.
Yeah.
I do agree with you, Dan. The only thing that I kind of fall back on is we don't have any, your feeling is that it's intrusive on the neighbor that's to the east, and you're probably right, but no one's complaining, no one's got any issues. It's got a 6-foot fence around, you'd probably have a little more teeth if you had a neighbor who maybe spoke out and said, oh, well, if you could push it, maybe even 4 feet away and give them a 2-foot variance, and I feel like you'd have a little more. I mean,
but that's tough because the one that the last one we saw from Andrew that was not a built pool that we declined was that corner lot where they sort of came to a V and kind of shared a backyard with another property, and that one was not yet built, and the neighbors spoke. But I almost wanted to say, like, we would be declining this application even if they hadn't objected, because we would be essentially thinking on their behalf, right? Sort of the applicant, if it's irresponsible to your neighbor's property, that's what we're sort of supposed to consider, that whether the current occupants there come and speak up or not.
Agreed. And I know I'm not opposed to this because I think it imposes some type of undesirable effect for the neighbor necessarily. What I'm chiefly concerned with is the fact that it's very self-created, that there's many ways you could not do this. And so that is
agree with 100%.
Why is it a 20-foot
that
setback?
said, I should say the self-created is the only criteria that the decision can't be based solely on. So there has to be another one of the criteria also that is triggered.
Yeah, but I think, what's the first one? Sorry. Are there other means to achieve it? Which is absolutely yes.
Bingo. Right. Yeah, and that would be the one in this case because it's not any of the other three. It's not significant. Allison, are you trying to get in?
Nope.
All right, your camera came on.
I was gonna
I'm
say, I see
back.
Allison.
Nervous.
Just to play devil's advocate a little bit, at the end of the call, they mentioned some of the design criteria and the openings and how that was going to align. And Andrew, you had brought this up, right?
Yeah.
How it was going to kind of align with walking out off their patio into a certain part of the pool. Maybe it wasn't explained great, but maybe it was walking into like the shallow end, or making sure it was situated where it was safe or whatever.
I was looking for something. Yeah.
I know you were getting at it. And also,
Yeah.
this doesn't include the patio around it, whatever stone they're going to put around it. So, is there, and I'll just talk about this now, but maybe there's a plan to put stone on the east side, kind of where the fire pit side is, and kind of wrap it around, which would, from a design perspective, would make a lot of sense, because that's otherwise a little bit of wasted space over there. So I don't know, just from a design, I don't want to sit here and judge their design or their pool company's design or whatever it is. I think it's more important that we're saying, okay, there's a way to, if we're not in favor of this, then it's a way to, it's because there's another way to do it.
And I agree with you. And one other thing I'll bring up, and I think Lisa brought it up in her staff report, is there's no indication on here where the pool equipment's going to go. But I sincerely doubt they're going to put it to the west side near the shed and the yard they want to preserve. They're going to put it to the other side towards the fence. And then how far away from the fence will that be?
But if it's stone patio, I don't think it matters.
I'm talking about the pool equipment.
Oh, the pool equipment. Yes, I don't know. Good point.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to sort of sit and redesign their project on the fly. I was just hoping for more of the explanation of the logic that had gone into ending up where they did.
Yeah, I understand.
But
They didn't give us a lot of meat on the bone. I agree with that, because I felt the same way. Like when I originally asked, why didn't you move the pool over 6 feet? I was hoping they would have said, well, as Lou said before, this is the shallow end. This is the design feature we're trying to maximize, something along that way. You can be like, all right, at least it makes sense why you do it.
The longer pool lets you swim laps, something, anything.
Right? Or like the
Right.
septic system is there and you can't move it or something like that, right?
So, but I mean, we're talking about a 30% variance. I don't think anybody's debating the rear variance, right? Because that's a 10% variance.
Right.
So it's the 30%, which is still by our measure not significant. I don't know.
Not insignificant, right? It's kind of just.
It's
We've approved a lot more too.
It's more than we're comfortable waving at when there's not a clear reason why, but it still doesn't feel like that big of a deal. Is that where everybody is?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they could.
That's where I feel. I would say that.
That big of a deal? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they did give, whether we agree with the explanation or not, they did suggest that they're trying to keep some open space for their young kids. They're trying to keep some open space there, and they could easily have said, I'm trying to align this with the wood planter rather than the patio. I mean, there's lots of design related things to discuss either way, but I understand.
I will say one
with a smaller pool. So I would understand if some people don't want to support it, but to me, I don't know. I lean towards it not being quite such a big deal.
To be honest with you, I wish just the only knock I have on Andrew is that other than a square box on a piece of paper, which seems to be his trademark, I wish he would give us a little more, like talk to the pool company, find out what it's going to look like, get a standard picture. I mean, again, if we would know that the shallow end is going to be on the left and the deep end's on the right, we're going to swim laps, it might help his cause, number one. And number two, give us some rationale for whether approving or denying, something. So
at least in this case, it's an actual drawing of the footprint of the pool. As opposed to a pool could be somewhere in here. So that's better.
These are two separate variances being requested, right?
Yes.
Well, I think it's one. It's two variances, but I think it's one request. I'm just going to look right now on how we noticed it.
We can rule on them individually, right?
Yes, they're two separate requests. Yes. So you could theoretically accept one and deny another, or accept them both or deny them both. I'm sure our attorney would advise us on that. So.
Sitting really still, or if it's frozen. I think it's
He's
frozen.
frozen, I think.
I think our attorney is frozen. Yes.
Yes. I'd make a comment about that, but I know I'd pay for it later from her. So,
I mean, effectively, if you were going to improve the rear yard and I mean, that sounds like that's what you're talking about, Dan, right? Like you would consider approving the rear yard and not the side yard.
Yeah.
Effectively, you're saying move the pool.
Or get a smaller pool, or a combination of both. If you don't want to move it completely, but you want to get a slightly, like,
Right.
yeah. I want to give them an avenue to achieve what they want, right? And I don't want to outright deny it. I want to give them the ability to get what they want.
But they
I mean, I
want
just,
a pool. That's what we want.
Okay, sure. Why not make it like, 50 feet long then instead?
But I do think that it's like, if they had done it and just put the pool in and came to us, we'd be like, okay.
Because
But they're asking permission first and they're getting penalized for it.
Dan, let me ask you this question, and I'm kind of with going back to a comment that maybe Andrew or Lou made. If they showed up and they had the pool in and they said, okay, I want to sell the house and I need to get a variance, and you saw this in front of you, what would be your answer to this?
It's hard to say, but I mean, at that point, typically our rationale there is, look, what are we going to do? Make them rip the pool out of the ground? Like,
right.
The hardship, isn't there a hardship?
Yeah, I mean, the hardship is the threshold is much lower in this case. The hardship is a smaller pool. It's not tens of thousands of dollars trying to rectify a situation.
Well, yeah, there's no hardship monetarily from saying, if we just said no altogether, there'd be no hardship monetarily, but making someone rip out a pool. And that being said, like the next one, well, we don't want to mix applications, but the idea that you went ahead and built a pool, even though you knew it was in violation, like where does the hardship fall on there? It's, yeah.
So to answer your question, I probably, I don't want to deal in hypotheticals, right? Because that's not the situation.
You're right. You're right. I feel like, you have two, again, not to mix applications, but as Andrew said, you have a person who admittedly got impatient and just did what they wanted to do. And then you have this applicant who's doing the right thing. Sure, he wants a little bigger pool or whatever, but, I feel like, almost like we're penalizing them for doing the right thing, where if they would have just showed up to us, the fact of the matter is you hit it right on the head. The pool's in the ground. What are we going to do? Make them rip it out? We're not going to, but, it's,
yeah.
I don't know.
Kind of
that argument,
I think you can make an argument both ways.
We're voting on what's in front of us, right? And we're trying to do the right thing by what's in front of us.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Lou.
No, I think to me that argument is like, we could do that all day on every application. That's a tough one to go back and forth on. But I think at the end of the day, we have to vote on whether we think what they're asking for is substantial.
True, but I mean, we're also getting, well, or whether they can achieve what they want through other means.
Right.
But we're getting more and more pool applications, and so it is worth asking what the incentives are of waving people through once they're asking for forgiveness rather than permission. And I know that can't be germane to this particular application. Maybe that's a larger conversation, but it feels as if at a certain point we're incentivizing people just going ahead and doing what they want and then coming to us hat in hand.
Again, like I don't like, that's not what's in front of us. But what I would say is like we had one in front of us last time, and that one was already in, but it was a mistake. And I plausibly believe it's a mistake because it sounds like the pool company somehow, some way mixed up the code, right? We also granted sometimes, like I remember granting one that was like a foot off, right? Because they just mismeasured. Sometimes we'll grant them when the pool's been in the ground for 25 years, right? And it's not their fault, right? But things that are fresh, like if you're just going to build a pool now and then go for a variance like in a month, we haven't seen a lot of those until tonight, right? So I don't know how we'll react moving forward.
Well, I don't know where people are. Are we ready to vote, taking the items separately, or what?
Well, let's because Dan wrote up a good point. Let's take them up separately, and let's take the low hanging fruit. I make a motion that we approve a 10% setback from the rear yard, 18 feet where 20 is required, for the application number, I gotta find the number, the 419 application, 18 feet where 20 is required. I'll make a motion that we accept that and approve it. All in favor?
Do we have to second?
You
No?
missed your second.
I'm sorry. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we have,
All right, before you make the next call, can I say, Allison, do you mind if I ask you a question?
sure,
Please
just hold
do.
on one sec, Lou.
Yeah.
Tracy, did you vote positive on that or negative? I assume it's positive?
You're
In
muted.
favor of it?
You're muted, Tracy.
Sorry.
No worries.
No, I voted in favor of it.
All right, so it's 5-0 for that. Go ahead, Lou.
Sorry, Allison, I'll be quick.
Go for it.
Just, we keep talking about precedent here, but if we were to approve the next variance request, what does that really mean precedent? I mean, anybody who ever comes to us for a pool that's under a setback of 30% or more. Yeah.
Not exactly. Not
Or-
exactly.
Right?
So the way that the precedent works is that yes, you do set a precedent for a certain setback. That said, if the board can rationally find the difference between the subject application and a future application, that precedent doesn't have to be followed. So again, if you're looking at a particularly tricky property and that variance is granted, and then you come back with a very bread and butter simple application following, you don't have to follow that precedent. So as long as the board can find some rational reason why subsequent applications are different than the subject application, then it doesn't have to be followed. That said, I would be a little bit uncomfortable if the difference between the two applications was one was put in prior to permit and one was put in after permit.
Agreed.
I can get how that's irksome, and particularly as someone who sits in the seat where we accept the applications, that can certainly be irksome. And a little bit of that can be attributed to self-created hardship. But I'd say that the difference between something that presently exists with prior to permit and is proposed is not a sufficient difference to say it is substantially or significantly or rationally different than a prior approval.
Thank you. I asked because obviously we do see, and Andrew did it tonight, and I think he was making his point, is that precedent. We talk about it all the time. And, you know, I don't know if this property or this situation fits into that category or not. I think we'll figure it out, but it comes up all the time, and I always would look for some guidance on that. So thank you.
Something else to keep in mind when you're talking about the precedent. Now, this one was a recent enough application that we all have a pretty firm recollection of it. We were able to add additional testimony to the record about it. But a simple statement of, oh, you guys have done this before is not precedent. In this instance, they did discuss a particular property that had a similar request. And again, it's all fresh enough in our minds that it can be recalled. But a simple statement of, oh, you've done this before is not sufficient precedent entered into the record upon which to base a determination.
Any other questions or comments?
One last question, and this may sound utterly splitting hairs, but given that they're asking for 14 feet where 20 is required, and the precedent that was cited was asking for 15 feet where 20 is required, and on the one hand, 1 foot is no big deal, but on the other hand, it just feels like we're setting a precedent that's now even a little bit more lenient. You're muted, sorry. Oh, unless you meant to be. But is it possible to grant 15 feet instead of 14 feet, or we just say yes or no to the ask? I know we've been down this road before, and the answer is probably no.
So the idea of the precedent, because again, remember, the entirety of the decision is a balancing test. So it's not really that black and white. Again, finding one thing in favor of denial, unless it's so enormously clear, is not really enough to give a denial. So it really does depend at looking at the whole picture. It really isn't just, well, you know, we approved 14.8 and this is 15, so forget it. It's really not that black and white, though. That probably would make.
What I was asking was, could we approve a variance, but not quite as much as the one that they asked for?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, so you have the right to approve, deny, or amend what they're looking for. Absolutely.
All right, thank you. I don't know that we want to go there. It feels pedantic over a foot, but you know.
Just as a recall on that application with 101 Oakwood, you guys were also very careful in looking at that to also not just look at the fact that the pool had been installed and it was a large ask to remove it and would be a substantial impact on the homeowner for that reason. You also did look at the placement of the pool, how it related to other houses, and really determined in that case that it was truly not a substantial ask, even when you didn't look at it percentage wise. So, yeah, I know we didn't really bring that whole thing, but just to remember, refresh your memories that what you did look at that property very specifically.
Appreciate it.
Mark, you're muted.
Lisa, can you do me a favor and just bring up the aerial of 419 for 1 second?
You want the aerial or the survey?
Aerial, please.
Sure.
Can you go in a little closer on 419, please?
Too close.
All right. So where the pool would be relative to the fence, the house is forward of the property, is actually forward of the house 419. So the pool would be in line with, I guess, a garage, it looks like, in a shed. Am I getting that correctly?
Yes, that is correct. The house is here, so the house is not remotely near the proposed location.
So if we granted this variance, it wouldn't have any direct on at least the quality of life of the living situation for the property, whatever number that is, 421. So, I mean, just to throw that out there, I mean, you know, one of the other things that, you know, as Lisa said, we did take into account at 101 Oakwood, the neighbors on either side. So to follow that logic, let's look at the neighbor on this side. And it looks like the pool is a good 20 to 30 feet from the rear of the house to the beginning of the pool. So,
I was more interested in the property behind this property, and you know, if you're standing in your front yard, you know what that view is of the pool. But it sounded like there was an explanation for that, that it might not be too visible.
Well, and
Yeah,
also
and
the 18-foot we deem to the 10% variance is the one that affects that. I mean, I think if the pool shifts this way, we probably don't care vis-a-vis them.
Right. Agreed.
So.
Well, but the real issue is that the person behind them would have more of the impact, quality of life, or a sign of line of sight or anything else than the property to the east of them. So
Maybe I don't know what these structures are, but your point that the house is down here, yes, and that there's some distance here. And then in fact, if this pool moves closer to the east, that's actually better for these guys. Not that that's our consideration, but.
Right, but it's, you know, it helps make a decision one way or another. You know, you currently have a deck and a pool there. The fact that no one came out and commented one way or another, I don't take a lot of stock in when someone says, oh, the neighbors have no problem. I mean, you know, it's kind of a self-serving statement, but I feel like moving it to the east, you have no impact on 421. And Andrew, you brought up a good point. Moving it to the east even reduces the impact to, I'm assuming that's 417, but I can't see it from here.
Yes, it is.
So, you know, Dan, you're right. I mean, they can move it over, but if they move it over, then they're affecting, I think they're doing more harm to 417 than less.
I'm still a little bit on the fence. I'm leaning towards approval. I don't know how other people are. Is there anybody that's not decided one way or the other at the moment? Because if everybody's decided, we can just vote.
Lisa, can you take that aerial, please? Okay. If no one else has any significant comments or questions, I'm going to make a motion that we approve a variance of 6 feet on the side yard where 20 is required for the application for 419
Wait,
Broadway.
you mean, sorry, you mean 14 feet. So a
Yes.
reduction
Make
of
a motion. All right, rephrase it. I'm sorry, I apologize. Correction. Make a motion that we approve a variance for 6 feet.
14 feet.
14 feet.
Just,
Make a
yeah,
motion. All right,
for 14.
right. For 14 feet, where 20 is required, a difference of 6 feet. I'll make a motion that we approve that. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
There you go.
All right, Tracy, second it.
Yeah, Lou.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Reluctantly.
Do I? All right, so I'm sorry, that was favor,
Dan-
Tracy and Andrew? You guys
Yeah.
were in favor? Dan, what's your thinking?
I'm opposed.
Okay, and so we have 4 in favor, 1 opposed.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm so proud of split decision.
I know.
love it. I
Dan,
don't know if
I'm
we've ever
grateful to
had
it.
one before.
I have, and I can't remember when it was, but
It
I
was
think
my
we
very
did.
first vote. The very first ZBA meeting I was in, I actually voted no, and everyone else voted yes.
Mm.
You're
That's when we
muted,
knew not to like you right away.
No, and I was about to say, and that's why we love you, Dan.
You'll pay for it on Sunday, Dan, when we play golf.
Tracy, you're muted, but you were saying
Sorry,
something.
can you hear me?
Now, okay, yeah.
We did a split decision on the guy who was on, he was a surveyor. He had the surveyor's office and the 3
Yeah.
Oh
building
yeah, Jaeger.
apartments.
Jaeger, yeah.
Jaeger,
Yeah.
yeah. Jaeger.
That one's still.
And I believe we announced that we won that
yeah.
appeal. So good job, team.
All right, 29 Laurel. If 419 was interesting, 29 is definitely gonna.
Can I
be
suggest that
interesting.
perhaps you vote on some of the low-hanging fruit first?
Yeah, it's going to be
Alright.
yes to most of it, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So I mean, you talk about a unique property. We've seen Oakwood is a perfect example of property that has 2 front yards. You know, we've seen that. This actually has 3, I think, right? With Laurel, you know, it's really 3. So I mean, I know I've seen double front yards. I've really technically never seen 3, and then throw catty corner on the house. The thing that bothers me about the application is her comment about, well, we just grew impatient, so we threw it in.
Well, and I don't want to, if people are listening, I don't want honesty to get dinged. I mean, the fact of the matter is that was how we were interpreting it. Like, it was
Right.
clear,
No,
it was
no.
clear
I'm
that
just
that was
saying.
what had happened, and it was clear that they had done that knowing that it was wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
No. And that's not, it is what it is. I mean, I think if she would have got it, I think if she would have went through the variance, she'd probably end up with the same layout. I don't think there'd be such a significant difference, but for the purpose of honesty, that's, and it was public record anyway, so I'm not repeating anything that's not on the record.
and this is really tough because it's the inverse of what we were just saying. We're supposed to consider the application as if it's in a vacuum, not knowing whether it's been built already in violation or is an ask to build something in the future, that we should consider those things roughly the same. But in this case, I feel more as if we would be understanding of the variance coming 2 years ago, unbuilt in 2019, given the weirdness of the lot. And the fact, and all the mitigating factors, the fact that it's a lot that has a front yard on 3 sides. So the front yard variance, I have no problem with, especially considering they picked the chunk that is most sheltered, least in view, most elevated. It's the road that's least walked. You look at the view from Old Post Road, and it's basically like a bypass. That's not their front yard. Nobody, no big deal, right? So like that variance, the setback, you'd probably look at it and say, you're not that close to your neighbor's house. You came and you asked, it's all good, right? It's not the same as the one that we turned down that had the tapered lot where you're really sticking your pool in the neighbor's backyard.
It is kind of right there, though. I mean, I visited it today, and the house next door, whether they care or not, I don't know, is right there, right next to the fence. It's pretty close.
Can we look at the satellite again?
Yeah, I'll bring it up.
I mean, what I would also say is that when we talked about that one lot last meeting, we said like there are some uniquely shaped lots, but also not every lot is entitled, because the word entitled came up, entitled to a pool, right? I mean, sometimes a pool just doesn't make sense on the lot you bought, and you kind of maybe considered that when you got on the lot.
Or whoever planned the house placed it really funky on the site.
Right. So if you look, 47 is pretty close to where that fence is. Because if you look, the property line's there, and the deck and the fence are a half a foot off of the property line. So it's
right. So it's right. The pool is right here, and there's like a deck up here. So their backyard kind of is right there.
Actually, if you look at Google Maps, it actually has the pool on there. There's also a Laurel Avenue and a Laurel Drive in Port Jeff. I'm not sure if you knew that.
I did, because I always get the wrong one when I'm looking.
You're very confused for a minute.
So, did you want the satellite or the street view?
I wanted the aerial with the satellite.
All right, hold on. I'm having trouble accessing the features here.
I feel like Antonio's going to chew his tongue off. Yeah.
Is there any rule in the code against mime involvement of the alternates?
No, none at all. We encourage it.
We're just glad you kept your perfect record, Antonio.
I'm not here for the added meeting on the 17th, so Tag, you're in.
A fun one.
All right.
All right, there's the pool.
So let's just look at the list of variances. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I know we just asked to haul this up, but
You want me to pull up the list of variances?
maybe I don't know. I could just read them, or someone, Mark can read them.
So real quick, team, I just got a quick call from Mark, and you can see him shutting down right now. He has to step off the meeting. He asked me to tap Lou as standing chair for the moment, so have fun with that. And we're gonna move together with the remainder of the team.
Is he planning on coming back to vote, or he's gone?
He will not make it back onto the meeting tonight.
Okay. Well,
I know. Why couldn't he do this for the one before, right, team? There's a family situation that he had to go deal with, and he had to step off.
Well, I hope all is well, but I didn't realize that was an option. Can I just tag?
No, it's not. He's in very, very big trouble.
Understood.
This one's
very,
hard,
very
so I'm having an issue.
So Tracy, you're the senior person. I don't want to step on toes, but
No, go ahead.
Trace, do you want to be chair?
All yours, Lou.
All right. All right. Well, Andrew, you were going to say let's go through the variances. So why don't we do that? Can we pull this up, please?
All right, let me pull up my staff report. Give me 1 second.
I can read them because my mouth is getting so dry.
But is Antonio in now? Is he? Right? I mean, if Mark's out, is Antonio in?
No, he can't tag in because he wasn't brought in during the public hearing.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah, he would have had to be brought in at the beginning. So close, Antonio.
All right, let's pull up the staff report here. And here's the, let me just share the screen. So I would suggest that since there are some of these that it seems that you guys have an easy time that are with the related to, the fence perhaps, or the front yard pool. Perhaps you start with those so that we can at least check some stuff off.
To me, the slam dunks are, wait for it, 2,
Yeah.
4, 5. and
Yep. 5. Yeah.
All right, so why don't we go one by one?
Even 6, I'd be all right with.
That's what I said. 2, 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Your slam dunks. Yep.
All right, so I'll run through 2, 4, 5, and 6, and we'll vote on those first, and come back and deliberate on the rest.
Well, no, I mean, I think we could just discuss 1 and 3 then, or I mean, we could vote on that. That's fine.
I'm fine either way. So
go ahead. You were driving it. My bad. Your meeting.
No. Please, let's discuss before we vote and get some better.
So the 20-yard setback. What's here is the code, not the variance, right? Where's the variance is how many feet?
Yeah, the variance is the pool is set back 5.5 feet from the western property line where 20 feet is required.
Nothing on the northern property line.
Wasn't one of the variances. Let me just.
Thank you.
No, actually, it is 16.1. I don't know why that wasn't included in the variance in the denial letter, but I believe that the.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you vote to deny 1, the result is they're pulling out a pool and moving it or taking it out completely, and which would obviously impact the rest of the requests.
I didn't like her attitude with that. She was like, I didn't feel like waiting, but at the same time, do we want to make her pull the pool out? I mean, she doesn't really have a place on that property to put it in.
But my understanding is we can't take into consideration whether the pool is in or not.
Well, we have the hardship piece of this that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So we went around in circles on this multiple times. So, I mean, how do you guys want to interpret that? I mean, Dan, it's what you said earlier was, relevant here.
Relevant. I mean, I think again, like when the pool company has made a mistake, I think that's a unique situation which we could tie back to the precedence that was established. If or not, but like I think now I lost my train of thought. Again, if it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if the pool's installed or not, then it doesn't matter if the pool's installed or not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if does it come into play that one pool is in ground and one is above ground? I don't think so.
No.
I'd say that from a precedent perspective, that would not really matter. I can say that, I mean, I understand the discomfort. I can say that this board and past boards have required pools removed. It's not something that happens often, but it is a thing that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
But from a precedent perspective, you did make a point regarding this is a unique property. That said, can that be separated out from a precedent in the future? It's possible. It depends on how future boards would interpret that.
I'm just worried that there are a ton of unique properties in Port Jefferson, right? I mean,
not with 3 front yards, though.
No, and that's actually not even my. I think all of the variances being requested because it's situated in the front yard. I don't have any concerns with.
So how far is the pool off the property line? Did you say it was 16?
It's 5.5 feet from the westerly property lines, the property line that's shared with the neighbor.
Now, what about from Old Post Road?
16.1 from Old Post Road.
So it's 4 feet off, basically.
Right. That's
what
oh,
they
sorry.
consider theirs. I'm sorry. I was just saying it's like 4 feet from what they're considering their rear yard, and 5.5 feet from what they're considering their side yard, even though, you know, which is,
Yes.
if you look
Right.
at the last one that we just did, it was 6 feet and they didn't have a unique, as you know, a unique property.
The last one was 14 feet off the side property line.
Was it, okay, right.
But to bring up, I can actually bring up the let me see. Can you? No, that was the old survey. This survey, just another thing to point out, which was brought up but not really pointed out, is that here these are overhead lines. I believe it's 15 feet you need to be set off of overhead lines for a pool. So that most likely when they put this in, that was taken into consideration in putting the pool here as opposed to a little bit more this way.
Yeah, they actually did say that.
Yeah, they mentioned it very quickly, so I just thought I'd point it out.
Yeah.
And that's just the lines that feed the service to the house?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, for what it's worth, I don't know where all of you sit on this, but for what it's worth, in my opinion, this is a very unique property. I think absent of I think we all probably don't appreciate the comments that were made by the homeowner as far as why they went ahead after withdrawing an application. But besides that, the pool seems to be in the least intrusive place it possibly could be on the property. So I'm inclined to, to approve all these variances and allow the pool to stay there, but that's why I'm today at the moment.
What about the third variance, which does not actually, I know you said they all run together, but it doesn't necessarily, disallowing the deck wouldn't necessarily run with the pool. And I know, again, I'm not trying to design their landscape for them, but if they came with the pool built and were asking for permit, with a variance preemptively gotten and the pool's sitting in that location, they're saying, now I want a deck that basically runs up against the property line. Now, on the one hand, you wouldn't normally build an accessory structure less than 5 feet from a property line because you don't want to crowd your neighbor. On the other hand, what they're building there is something only 3 feet high and it's against a 6-foot fence because they need that for their pool anyway. So I don't know if that structure is, certainly the site of the structure itself is not an issue, but for the neighbor, but perhaps the activity that takes place on the structure being right next to the property line would be the issue.
They really couldn't put it on the other side because the pool equipment is there.
No, but they could easily have built something up right here to go in. I mean, they could make an argument about it having to be on that side. I just don't. I'm asking that question because I agree personally, Lou, with your pretty much everything you said and the reasoning behind it for the granting of the pool and all the variances associated with the pool. And I think everybody's agreed on all the fences. This would just be the last outstanding question to ask.
Well, why don't we vote? I mean, instead of voting on them individually, vote on them all together.
Should we do that?
This is a question for Lisa or Allison.
Them to rip their deck out.
Right.
We could do it all together unless somebody wants them to rip that deck off, take it out.
It is appropriate for, if the board is looking to grant all of them, it is appropriate for a motion to grant as presented. That's how you would approve everything at the same time.
Got it. I'm not necessarily looking for them to pull their deck out. I was just asking the next logical question after deciding the pool.
Yeah, no, your point's well taken, Andrew. I mean, they certainly could do it differently, but we're back to that same issue where the neighbor who would be most affected didn't come out.
Right.
And if we're not concerned about precedent, given the kind of the property itself, it's more of a hardship to the property owner whether we like what she said or not, than it is for anything else.
Right.
In my opinion. So if we're all there, I'm ready to make a motion to approve the variances as presented. I'll throw it out there and see if we have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? All opposed?
Yes, Dan. All right.
Lisa, can you take down the map? I can't see everybody all at the same time. There we go. Hi,
sorry.
So we were clear on the vote on that one. So Dan wasn't opposed? Okay.
All right. Yes.
Okay, so it's 3-1.
right.
You're not gonna like me.
Are you kidding? If you had voted yes, I'd have been, no.
Well, Lisa, I think we're done for the evening. So is it right to make a motion do I have to make a motion? We're not in a public hearing. You can just close it.
I think you can just close
I
it.
just want to remind everybody that tonight's agenda had the wrong date for next month's meeting. I know it was confusing with all my emails.
No, it's, we're trying
So
to,
originally we were meeting on June 10th, and that's what's on tonight's agenda, but it's June 17th, not June 10th. And that's the meeting from at the hospital. I'll make sure everybody gets a hard copy of the application. Andrew, I know that you're not going to make it.
but the following Thursday, the 20-something, that is the standard June meeting.
That's the
right?
standard meeting. As of now, I don't have any applications for that
Okay.
meeting, but I'll keep you guys updated if anything comes in.
Good.
Great.
And a quick plug before everyone disappears, there's a great training opportunity in the month of June with the New York Planning Federation. New York Planning Federation is doing a 4-week symposium on clean energy. The courses are 1 hour long. They're Wednesdays at noon, and it's each week in the month of June. So go to nightbif.org, sign up as members of the zoning board here in the village. You are members of New York Planning Federation, so the course is free. Go get some
Fabulous.
learning.
Thank you.
All right, thank
And
you.
would that get us all the credits we need for this year if we were to take, and we would have to do
If
all
you took
4?
all 4. Yeah,
Got it.
but we are having we're having 2 webinars a month right now. So there's plenty of opportunities beyond that. This one is just a 4-week series.
Yeah, but can you do it a la carte, or does it have to be all 4?
You can pick and choose as you please.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for stepping in, Lou.
Thanks for bearing with
Bye,
us.
Kaden.
Bye.
Hi,
And
Kaden.
thank you, Dan, truly.
I can. Easy.
Bye, guys.
Guys.
Bye.
Oh, and the other one.
Oh, yes.
I brought them all. See you later, team. Take care.
Bye-bye.